The Philippines' diplomatic strategy has changed a lot recently. The current regime is using a diplomatic strategy that encompasses both the economy and security.
The Philippines has previously maintained a low-profile relationship with China, but lately things have changed drastically. Recently, the United States and China have been offering gifts to the Philippines. If we look at the gift offerings from the United States, they include 3 transport planes and 4 coast patrol boats.
However, the Philippines also received an investment worth $22.8 billion as a gift from China in January of this year.
As the United States and China try to secure or ensnare the Philippines, the ransom of the Philippine nation is skyrocketing. The Philippines was treated terribly by China not too long ago. The Philippines used to have a pro-China policy. Former Philippine President Rodrigo Duterte planned a bold fight against crime.
In the process of eradicating gangsters in the Philippines, human rights were violated, so the U.S. government perceived the move badly and drove the Philippines into a corner.
When the United States came out against the drug war, President Duterte began to openly declare a pro-China policy, asking why the United States was interfering in dealing with criminals in his country. President Duterte's pro-China policy unilaterally abrogated the training agreement with the United States and allowed Chinese military transport planes to land in the Philippines.
The Philippines, of course, also declared that it would participate in China's foreign policy, One Belt and One Road. The Philippines adopted a pro-China policy because the U.S. interfered excessively in Philippine domestic affairs.
In a situation where China made the Philippines an ally, there were so many benefits that China could get from the Philippines. Considering the location of the Philippines, Taiwan is only 400 kilometers away, which is very close. If China invades Taiwan, it will be enormously advantageous to China if it secures the Philippines as an ally. In addition to that, since China could go to the Western Pacific via the Philippines, the latter could be an important bridgehead for China.
Having made the Philippines an ally, China's core force, nuclear submarines, could carry SLBM submarine-launched ballistic missiles and go all the way to the Pacific, where they could attack virtually undetected.
The United States drove President Duterte into a corner so much that the Philippines became pro-China. But then China made a big mistake regarding the Philippines. China should have taken good care of the valuable ally it won due to the US era. But China made a big mistake with that precious ally, the Philippines. China has had a pattern of pushing out countries like the Philippines that are openly pro-China. Even though the Philippines said it would become China's key ally, China openly harassed the Philippines. The most serious example was the territorial dispute in the South China Sea. China's absurd claim is that 80% of the South China Sea is China's territorial waters.
In the territorial waters or exclusive economic zones of the Philippines, which had said it would become pro-China, China attacked even Philippine fishing boats and government ships.
In 2019, a Chinese maritime militia vessel collided with a Philippine fishing boat that was operating at night, causing 22 Filipino sailors to nearly drown at night. The Chinese sailors committed the inhumane act of leaving the drowning Filipinos without even rescuing them. Of course, fortunately, the 22 Filipino sailors were saved thanks to the rescue by nearby ships. In 2021, 220 Chinese ships flocked to the exclusive economic zone of the Philippines, the disputed territory, docked and protested. Outwardly, they were Chinese fishing boats, but as they were identified as the Chinese maritime militia, the Filipino people were very nervous and angry.
The fury of public opinion in the Philippines reached its peak because of President Duterte, who failed to take any action against China's behavior and maintained a pro-China policy even in such a situation.
When it was said that the Philippines would participate in China's One Belt and One Road, China promised to invest in the Philippines, but did not keep its promise. An anti-China sentiment began to sprout within the Philippines.
President Duterte also delivered a humiliating speech to the Filipino people, saying that there is no way to stop China's violence and aggression because the Philippines is powerless. Angry at their country's humiliating behavior towards China, the Filipino people made it impossible to continue the pro-China policy. In the Philippines, on May 9, 2022, President Marcos Jr., the son of former President Ferdinand Marcos, the dictator of the Philippines, was elected. The peculiar thing is that the daughter of former President Duterte was elected as a vice presidential running mate. President Marcos Jr., the moment he was elected, chose the United States as the first non-Asian country to visit, and visited and had a summit meeting with President Joe Biden in September of last year. The predecessor, Duterte, chose China as his first stop after being elected and never visited the United States during his tenure. President Marcos Jr. chose a completely different course than his predecessor. Moreover, last February, the Philippines provided the United States with the possibility of use of 4 additional military bases in the Philippines. The United States has obtained 4 U.S. naval bases in a location only about 400 kilometers from Taiwan, an important strong point.
As for China, when it invaded Taiwan, it incurred and shouldered a huge burden, the way to advance into the Western Pacific was blocked, and the United States gained a tremendous advantage. In addition, the United States and the Philippines have recently strengthened their joint training, such as the Balikatan Joint Exercise on the largest scale ever.
President Marcos Jr. visited the United States in 2022 and then China in January 2023 and received huge gifts from China, including investment promises of $22.9 billion. The Philippines currently has serious energy problems and has also obtained promises from China, such as joint energy development in the South China Sea. Security has been guaranteed by the United States, and the economy has been able to achieve further benefits by attracting investment from China. As President Marcos Jr. builds a military base with the United States and conducts joint exercises, China's arrogance and harsh behavior towards the Philippines during the Duterte administration's pro-China policy appears to be receding. Filipinos will no longer have to listen to the subtle words that China is powerful and there is no choice but to be tyrannized by China in the South China Sea. Countries connected to the South China Sea, such as Vietnam, Brunei, Indonesia, Malaysia, should learn from the practical diplomacy of the Philippines.
I hope that President Marcos Jr.'s clever, pragmatic diplomacy, which relies on the United States for security and seeks economic benefits from China, will succeed. I also hope the Philippine government and people will consider the theory of international geopolitics that communist countries or dictatorships might invade neighboring countries, but democratic countries rarely invade each other. Thank you for watching the video, Practical Diplomacy by the Philippines, provided by History and Current Events. Gina, Cindy, and Tony have contributed so far as narrators. Thank you.